Welcome to the Connection Matters podcast. I'm your host, Leona Johnson. In this podcast, we explore the intricate weave of consciousness, empowerment, connection to the sacred, and cultural emergence. I believe that now, more than ever, we're being called to craft a new story, one of community, deep listening, creative potential, cultural repair, and an embodied understanding of the interconnected web of all things. Let's do the work together so that we can move forwards with authenticity and integrity, knowing that we're contributing to a healthy, regenerative culture for future generations. My mission with this podcast is to inspire and empower you to step into this vision for life. Each episode, I'll bring you thought-provoking conversations with leading voices in the field, but you'll also find solo episodes where I dive deep into my passion, connected self-leadership and everyday spirituality, giving you actionable tools to integrate into your daily life. Subscribe now on your favourite podcast platform if you haven't already, and if you enjoy the show, please share it with those who would appreciate it. It really helps when you do. You can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts to help others find us who might need that dose of hope and inspiration. Finally, to get notified straight into your inbox, feel free to sign up to the mailing list in the show notes below. This is also where I share weekly inspirational thoughts and any downloadable freebies that I talk about during the episode. My aim is to serve. I am so grateful that you are here. Hey, and welcome back to 2026. It is January the 7th, and I am recording this from my office with a cup of tea in my hands, and it's already gone cold because that's January, isn't it? And today I want to talk to you about something that has been sitting with me these first few days of the year. And I'm going to say this right at the start because I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. Not because intention doesn't matter. God, intention matters enormously, but because I've learned through my own stumbles and through witnessing hundreds of people move through change, that how we orient ourselves matters far more than what we say that we're going to do. You see, January is kind of tender. It's slightly foggy. I feel foggy. We're not fully awake yet, are we? There's this vulnerability to it, this sense of potential mixed with something raw and unformed. And I think that's perfect, because what I want to offer you today isn't a blueprint or a plan or 5 steps to anything. I want to talk about orientation. I want to talk about how we face the world and about what we return to when things wobble, and about what we choose to protect and what we choose to release. So here's what you can expect from this episode. I'm going to walk you through what orientation actually means, not as a concept, but as a lived practice. Then I'm going to get quite personal and share how I'm orienting myself this year, the specific things that I'm releasing and protecting and committing to. And finally, I want to talk about why choosing support early before you're exhausted or in crisis changes everything. By the end, my hope is that you'll have a different way of thinking about this threshold. We're standing at a whole lot of potential, but a whole lot of tenderness. So let's start with the word itself, orientation. When I use this word, I'm not talking about a goal setting session or a vision board exercise, although I'd love those. And especially if they work for you. But I'm talking about something much more foundational. Orientation is how you face the world. It's what you return to when decisions aren't clear, when you're tired, when things get complicated or messy or harder than you expected. I like to think of orientation as a relationship with myself, with what truly matters, with the season that I'm in, both literally and metaphorically. And let me tell you, when I first realized that resolution setting didn't work for me, I was probably in my early 30s writing lists on January the 1st, like I'd been taught to do. You know, go to the gym, be more productive, save money, read more, all of those things. You know the drill. And every year, by about mid-February, I'd feel this creeping sense of failure, not because I was lazy or lacking willpower, but because those resolutions weren't connected to anything deeper. They were shoulds, not truths. What usually happens to people's intentions by February? What do you know? They evaporate, or worse, they become sources of shame. But here's what I've noticed. When I shifted from resolution to orientation, my body responded completely differently. Instead of that clenched feeling, the one that sense of gritting your teeth and pushing through, I felt something open, a sense of coming home to myself rather than forcing myself into some predetermined shape. Orientation isn't about pressure. It's about truth. It's about asking, what's actually happening in my life right now? What season am I in? What do I need? What wants to emerge? And here's the thing. Orientation isn't something you figure out once on January the 1st, is it? And then you're done. It's something that you return to again and again, which is what I always say. It's a practice of realignment, checking in, noticing when you've drifted, and gently and kindly bringing yourself back in. Now, I want to get a bit personal with you and share how I'm actually doing this work myself, because I think there's a real value in my transparency, in you seeing how this plays out in real life, my real life, with all of its complications and contradictions. I'm going to break this into 3 parts: what I'm releasing, what I'm protecting, and what I'm committing to. So let's start with release, because I think we have to make space before we can invite anything new in. I've done this in layers this year. This year, I am releasing the idea that I need to be constantly producing, that my value is tied to my input output, and that rest is something that I earn rather than something I need. I realized this really clearly sometime around October last year, and I was in the middle of launching something, and my body just said no, not dramatically, not with illness or breakdown, just a quiet, firm no. And I had to listen. I had to acknowledge that the pace that I'd been keeping wasn't sustainable, even though it wasn't wildly excessive by many people's standards. It was too much for me in this season with these responsibilities, with this nervous system. So I'm asking myself, what am I no longer willing to rush? And the answer is most things. I'm no longer willing to rush my creativity. I'm no longer willing to rush conversations with people who I love. I'm no longer willing to rush through my own experience in order to get to some imagined future version of my life where things will finally feel settled and right. I'm also releasing a certain identity, the one that says I need to have all the answers, the one that feels slightly ashamed when I don't know something or when I'm still figuring something out. I've been a coach in various forms and guises for years now, a ceremonial leader, someone that people come to for guidance. And all of that is true and real. But I'm also always a student, always learning, always being humbled by life. And I want to be more honest about that. Where did last year show me my limits clearly? Well, where do I start? in my capacity to hold complexity whilst also being present to simplicity. I realized that I was sometimes choosing complexity because it felt more impressive or legitimate, let's say. And that was costing me simplicity and ease. So this year, I am releasing that impulse. Now, protection. This is strong language, and I'm using it intentionally because protection isn't about being defensive or closed. It's about devotion. It's about recognizing what's precious and saying, this matters enough that I will create a boundary around it. This year, I am fiercely going to protect my nervous system. And that might sound strange, but it's become so clear to me that everything flows from this. When my nervous system is regulated, when I'm resourced and grounded, I can be present. I can be the parent I want to be. I can be creative. I can be of service. When it's dysregulated, when I'm literally running on fumes, which it felt like I was last year at times, or adrenaline, everything suffers. My work, my relationships, my capacity for joy. That was a big one, actually. So, what does that actually mean practically? It means I'm protecting my mornings, like really protecting them, not just hoping they'll stay spacious, but actively guarding them. I don't check my email until after breakfast, after the kids have gone. My mornings are for tea and quiet, maybe for a walk, writing, if writing wants to come, praying, doing yoga. They're not even for content creation unless it genuinely feels nourishing. And I'm also protecting my time with my children by doing this, which might sound obvious, doesn't it? But I've noticed how easy it is to be physically present, but mentally somewhere else. To be thinking about work while we're having dinner or planning next week's, work or content or sessions while they're telling me about school. This year, when I'm with them, I want to be actually fully with them. Like they're getting older now, they're 12 and 14. It's not going to be that long until they have literally physically gone. So that's a boundary too, a boundary against the pull of always being productive, always being on. And I'm protecting depth. This one's kind of harder to articulate, but I'll try. I'm protecting my capacity to go deep in my work, in my relationships, in my own practice. And that means saying no to things that keep me skimming on the surface. It means fewer obligations, more spaciousness. It means choosing quality over quantity in almost every arena of my life. These boundaries are acts of devotion. They're not restrictions. They are how I tend to what matters most. So, finally, commitment. Not goals, but commitments. I'm committing to presence over productivity, which is ironic, isn't it? Because I run a business and productivity matters. But I've seen what happens when productivity becomes the God I serve. Things get done, yes, but the quality of my life diminishes, the richness drains out, and I become efficient but not alive. So this year, presence first. And I have to trust that the work that needs to happen will happen from that place. I'm committing to community over isolation. I have a tendency, especially when things get hard or confusing, to retreat. to feel sorry for myself and to try and figure things out alone, to not want to burden others or to be seen as vulnerable. But that's not how we're meant to live, is it? We're woven together. We need each other. So I'm committing to reaching out even more, to asking for help sooner, or to being more honest about when I'm struggling. I'm committing to truth over comfort. And this, it does feel quite vulnerable to name because truth isn't always convenient, is it? It's not always easy. Sometimes telling the truth to myself or to others means disappointing people or having difficult conversations or admitting that I was wrong. But comfort at the expense of truth always costs more in the end. So I'm committing to speaking what's true, even when it's uncomfortable, even when I'm not sure how it will be received. And I'm committing to depth over speed, similar to presence over productivity, but slightly different. This is about trusting the slower rhythms, about not rushing processes that need time, about letting things unfold rather than forcing them into existence. And that is tricky for me because I am a manifester. I make things happen and I'm really good at it. But this really applies to my work, to my relationships, to my own healing and growth, depth over speed. What commitment feels slightly uncomfortable but deeply right? All of these, honestly. Every single one asks something of me. But they also feel like coming home, like finally being truthful about what I actually value rather than what I think I should value. And what does showing up well mean for me now, not 10 years ago? It means being honest, it means being present, it means being boundary, being softer and also clearer. It means letting people see me as I actually am rather than performing some version of myself that I think will be more acceptable or impressive or professional. It means trusting that my particular medicine, whatever that is enough. Now, I want to talk about something that I see all the time. It's a pattern, and maybe you'll recognize that yourself in this. People wait. They wait until they are exhausted or completely confused or burnt out or resentful. They wait until things are really bad before they reach out for support, before they admit that they need help, before they invest in themselves or their growth or their healing or going away or, self-care. And I understand why, because asking for help, admitting that you need help can feel like admitting defeat because support costs money or time or energy, and we're not sure if we have it. And because we think that we should be able to figure it all out ourselves. But here's what I want to offer you today. What if we chose support before we were in trouble? What if everybody did? What if support wasn't the thing that we did when everything fell apart, but the thing that we did to prevent everything falling apart? What if choosing support early was actually an act of wisdom rather than an act of desperation? I can tell you from my own life what difference early support has made when I've invested in coaching or therapy or community or spiritual practice before I was in crisis. Those resources became preventative. They became part of how I stay well rather than how I got well. They gave me tools and perspectives and relationships that helped me navigate difficult times without completely falling apart. And what happens when people try to hold change alone? They struggle, honestly. Not because they're not capable or strong or committed, but because we are not designed to transform in isolation. We need witnesses. We need people who can see what we can't see, who can reflect back our patterns, who can hold hope for us when we've temporarily lost touch with our own. Change is hard. Growth is hard, especially these days. Becoming more of who you truly are while releasing who you thought you should be or don't want to be anymore. That's hard work. And it's so much easier, so much kinder, so much more sustainable when we do it in community with support, with people who understand the terrain. So, why is January actually a wise time to choose support? Because you're at the threshold, you're in that tender, foggy, full of potential space. You haven't settled into the momentum of the year yet. You still have the capacity to make different choices, to orient differently, to set things in motion that will serve you for the next 12 months. If you wait until March, until June, until October, when you're depleted and overwhelmed, you're choosing support from a place of crisis. And that's okay. Crisis is sometimes what it takes to finally say yes. But if you're hearing this now and feeling that little quiet stirring, that sense of maybe this year could be different, then January is your moment. So here's what I want you to know. I'm hosting an opening the year ceremony on Saturday, 10th of January. It's a space to mark this threshold consciously, to set your orientation with intention and in community together. So if you're interested in coming together for 3 hours of a Saturday morning where we can connect, we can talk through where we're at, we can go out to the land where you go out to your land where you are and I go out to mine, and then we come back and we share what's come up. We do that again. It's a beautiful process. I've done it before and it's so rich. Then you would be most welcome. The link for that is in the show note. And the other thing to say is that the Life Compass curriculum, which is always running, but a new cohort of people are coming in now in January. And so if it's something that you think that that could support you to have a container with guidance through all of the 8 life areas now, whenever we're at this point of transition and for the next 6 to 8 months, then also do look at the Life Compass curriculum, because it's a really, really supportive process, which is bringing people who are joining into their deepest, most connected versions of themselves. And I love it. I love seeing it happen. And I love having this deeper connection with those of you who listen to my podcast and join these programs. If you're listening to this and feeling a quiet yes, a sense of recognition, a whisper of maybe this is for me, then you're really very welcome. Really, truly, truly welcome. And you can find all the details on my website in the links below. And you can also sign up for my mailing list and I'll send you everything that you need to know. I want to leave you with this today. Orientation isn't something that you figure out once. It's something that you return to. Some weeks, some months, you'll be really clear. You'll know exactly what matters, how you want to show up, who you want to be. And other times, maybe most times, you'll wobble. You'll forget, you'll get swept up in other people's priorities or old patterns, or just the general chaos of being human, especially in these times. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's part of the practice. The practice is the returning, the noticing when you've drifted, and gently, kindly bringing yourself back and asking again, how do I want to orient myself? What matters most right now? What am I protecting? What am I releasing? What am I committing to? These aren't questions with permanent answers. They're questions that we live into again and again as we grow and change and become more truly ourselves. So thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. And if this resonated, if something landed for you, I'd love to hear about it. You can find me on Instagram, connection.matters.leona, or send me an email. I always respond. If you know someone who would love to hear some of these words, please do share it. This is how people, that's the best way to share podcasts. And until next time, take good care of yourself, and remember, how you orient yourself matters far more than what you say you're going to do. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for tuning in to Connection Matters podcast. I hope today's episode inspired and empowered you to deepen your connection to yourself, others, and the world around you. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to subscribe, share it with those who might benefit, and leave a review. It really helps others to discover the podcast. You can also join our mailing list to stay updated with new episodes, inspiring thoughts, and free resources designed to support your journey. Together, we can build a more connected, compassionate world, one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep creating the future that you want to live in. Go well, beautiful human.